Hello everyone, Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. Today I'm just doing a quick video to show you how to make faux suede out of your regular cardstock. It's a very simple technique. It requires just a little bit of time and patience on your part. And what I'm going to do to start with is I've got a piece of native navy cardstock. This happens to measure 1 3/4 inches in width. For this technique, I would highly recommend that your strips be no wider than 2 inches. I found for me, my hand couldn't handle anything wider than that and get the paper curling that we're going to be working on to work correctly on a much larger piece of cardstock than that. So let's go ahead and get started. It's a very simple thing, but it does take a little bit of time. I have just torn my paper. I kind of like the look of the roughness on the edge when I'm done with what I'm working on. But you could use a punch to create a fancier end, or use the triple banner punch or one of the banner punches and create a fancy edging to your strip. It doesn't really matter. And so all we're going to do, you need one tool, your bone folder, and your cardstock. And then you're just going to take your bone folder, just like you're curling ribbon, basically, and you're going to just keep running it over here. You'll make sure that you turn it around so that you're getting both ends. And be sure that you start past the center point so that you don't end up with a chunk in the center that hasn't been curled as much as the rest of the strip has. Now you want to also make sure that you're rolling it over, flipping it over so that you're getting both sides. Basically what we're doing right now is breaking down the fibers in the cardstock. And so we're just going to go over and over and over. You're going to feel the paper get softer. You're also going to notice that it is curling up, wrinkling. You're starting to see a lot more detail in the paper from where the fibers have broken down. And that's exactly what we want. We're ultimately going to hope to see the corners start to separate a little bit, because then we'll know that we have done this. Now, this technique is very cool. It is not probably a technique you're going to want to do to make 100 cards, because it does take a little bit of grip and arm strength, and I think you would regret designing a card like this using this technique if you had to make 100 or probably even 20 of these. So you just keep going back and forth, both ends, both sides. You really want to work it and get those fibers broken down. Like I said, the paper starts to get really soft and it looks like we've kind of ruined it. Don't worry about that, because that's exactly what we want to have happening here. And I think you can see why you don't want to do a lot of these. I actually have maybe 8 or 10 different colors that I've done of different sizes. This 1 3/4 inch width is really the max that I like to do. Even the 2 inches adds a little bit more effort than this does. So I'm just going to take a peek real quick here. Sometimes you'll actually see your corners start to separate. I don't think I'm quite there yet, so let's go ahead. The suede reminds me, my daughter showed horses from about the age of, well, she started riding at the age of 8, but showed horses probably starting in 5th, 6th grade, all the way through college. And she owned a pair of black chaps that were black suede chaps. And that's kind of what this reminds me of. The girls in all their fancy show wear often had black or brown chaps, but there were a few brave souls that wore white, and I do recall even seeing a pair of navy blue chaps out there. There we go. So this is already separating here, and that's exactly what we want. That's how you can tell you're done with this step. And then what I found worked best is to peel and separate the 2 layers of paper all the way across your strip here. And then I just took my thumbs and kind of pulled back, rolled my hands back, and then as I would get down, I'd move my thumbs down, and I'm kind of pinching it too with my fingers. My pointer fingers are underneath my thumbs. And what I found is that I didn't tear the paper funny, And you do want to do this step quite slowly, otherwise you could end up separating things partially. If you go slow, take your time, you're going to end up with two pieces of the faux suede that you can work with. And what it does is it gives it just a kind of rough, fuzzy looking texture to it. It actually doesn't show up quite as much on the Night of Navy as I thought it would. I've done a few other colors and I think you'll see what I mean on that. This is shaded spruce. Hopefully you're able to see the texture in there. Real red I thought looked really cool. And again, it just adds kind of a fuzzy, soft texture to your paper. Here it is using Pool Party. Wasn't sure if it would show up on light colors, but it does just fine with that. A sample with Early Espresso. And again, you can see the detail. It's uneven, it's irregular, but it's a nice fuzzy look. This is very vanilla. I got a little thin in one spot, but that isn't going to be a problem. Either cover that up with a sentiment or something that you've punched or die cut, or another layer. You're going to be just fine. And this is, let's see, that is very vanilla. This one is Whisper White. And again, you can see that texture. Feel it, it's real soft. Almost velvety. Here's a sample using Crumb Cake. I think this turned out really well as well. Just seeing the different texture that exists in that. And then last but not least, I've got Basic Black, and it really shows up, I think, very nicely on the Basic Black. So that is a real quick tutorial on how to make faux suede for a card. Thanks for watching.